Hi everybody, my name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club, and today we're going to be replacing our RV faucet, same in travel trailers or anything like that. And we're going to be replacing the old faucet that looks like this with a very low profile faucet, so it's hard to get pots and pans in there. It had no aerator on it. You could put one on it, of course, but I was just sick of the design, and we're going to be stepping it up to this guy right here. This is a nice high-rise faucet. You have a lot more ground clearance, and it's also going to be a little more modern and up-to-date, and it comes with a low-flow aerator on it. So this is going to be a really fun upgrade to do. So without any further ado, let's jump out there and check out the install. Okay, so here's the current sink that's in place, and you know, it has this hot and it's cold. It's pretty old, outdated, probably the original, and it's very low. There's not a lot of clearance in here, and it doesn't have an aerator, so that burns through a lot of water. It actually had a little aerator on it with just some pinholes, but it would come down with such force that it just splatter everywhere, and it was a disaster. Also, this guy was kind of loose, and so it was starting to occasionally pop off. And this is a swivel sink, which you need for an RV, but this was actually starting to pop off on occasion. That was causing a lot of problems. And so what we're going to do is upgrade that to a high-rise faucet right here. And I'm going to move this up. The weird thing is you could actually use this with this faucet combo right here. So if you just put this guy down, screw that on, it does fit right in here. I don't know if that'd work for everybody, but it does. And we'll go ahead and I'll just show you real quick. If you pop that guy into place, tighten this guy down. The threads are the same and everything, so that was kind of weird. If I wanted to, I could literally just swap these out just like that and have a high-rise faucet and still use these guys right there with a nice little aerator for lower flow, and we'd be just fine. So I could do that if I wanted to, but we're going to go ahead and install the new sink faucet. We're going to go ahead and put this guy in. Now, the problem with that, this guy's a little bit bigger than the old one. So, as you can see, it's much wider. The holes are going to be wider, and so I'm going to have to drill those out. A couple things that you need to make sure of is that you have enough room up here. You're comfortable drilling the holes, and also that the pipes underneath are going to have enough flex to move over and connect without being at an angle, because then they wouldn't seal right and you'd have a leak. So luckily in my case, they're very long underneath and they're going to move over and attach just fine. And I am going to go ahead and install this one because I like these faucets better right here, because these, you know, you do have to spin. And if you have like chicken on your hands or something, you want to wash your hands, you can just kind of move these with the back of your hand, which is great. And it's actually going to go like this, so you can move it that way. I guess you could do it this way, but you'd have to switch the knobs from cold to hot. You'd have to rotate those. So we're going to go ahead and figure out how to do that. So first you're going to turn off the water. So either your water pump should be turned off, or you should disconnect the hose going to your city water connection. And then we're going to open up the drain plugs for our low point drains, so that we get all that pressure and water out of the system that's going to the sink, so that we don't have a big mess when we disconnect those pipes. You may also want to open up both your hot and cold water faucets, and that enables the closed air there to kind of come in and let that water go down. So you can see there's some water right there, and it just got sucked down. So that's going to release that water that's trapped in the line. So we got those open, and we'll let those drain for a minute. Now if you look up top, you can see that both of these just have basic, you know, plastic connectors right here that can usually be undone by hand. But you may need some pliers or something like that if they're really on there. But we're just going to loosen those up by hand and disconnect them. So everything on here should be removable by hand. Otherwise you can use a little wrench if you've got to get things going a little bit there. But basically you're just going to unscrew both sides of the water pipes here, and then move those to the side. Now the other part of this is going to be the fasteners that hold the sink into position, and they also just unscrew by hand in most cases. So you're just going to unscrew those guys on both sides, and then the sink is going to pop right out for us. Now it's time to drill our holes, and this is the new sink, and as you can see, it fits pretty well, and these a little loose. They actually used a 1-inch bit to go inside there, which is the exact size that is. Now a 7/8 is about the right size for this sink, but we are going to use the 1-inch bit because it allows you a little bit of wiggle room when you put on those fasteners. So if you're off just a little tiny bit, you can adjust it so it looks really good to you. So we're going to keep that wiggle room and go with the 1-inch bit. Now you can use the gasket that comes with the sink to kind of eyeball where you want this guy, or you can see that it lines up with the hole here. And you can kind of tell how far away that is. You can measure that distance. And then when you pull this guy right into the middle, you can take it to that distance, which is a 1/4 inch for us. And then you can use that to mark your holes. You can use a measuring tape. You can do it however you wish. Now we're going to go ahead and measure. I'm just kind of making some little marks just to kind of keep track of things here, but we're going to go ahead and measure. So you're going to remove the rubber piece there, and we are going to use a measuring tape. It might look a little weird because I'm doing what's known as burning an inch, so I'm not using the edge of the tape. I'm using the 2-inch line there just to be a little more accurate. And we got 1 1/4 inches to the middle of that hole, so we're going to move over and mark 1 1/4 inches and put a little line right there so we kind of know where the center is. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So once I get my mark down there, we're just going to get rid of my old marks. And we're going to put 1 1/4 inches over here as well. And that's going to be the center line of the holes. Now we can also measure in between. And again, I'm going to be burning 1 inch right there. So we're going to start at the 2-inch mark. And I'm going to measure over from there once I get my tape locked here. So moving over, we're going to line it up with a 2 and move over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. And half of 5 inches is going to be 2.5. So 1, 2 1/2. That's going to be our center mark for in between those holes. That'll give us a nice guide. To be honest, you could probably do this just by eyeballing it and putting it exactly where you want it. But at least this way we know we're pretty much on track. We're going to move that down. Everything looks pretty good to me. So now I'm just going to eyeball where to put my drill. You can, of course, mark over, make an X in the middle of that hole. But I'm not too worried about it, guys. Even if you're 1 millimeter or 2 off, we're using a 1-inch bit. And so that's going to give us a little bit of wiggle room with the sink so we can really adjust it if we're just a little bit off. So I'm not worried. I'm just going to make a small hole right there that'll hold the drill. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side and just eyeball it. Get a nice little hole kind of dug into the wood there. And once we have that done, we can remove the rubber gasket and we can drill. Make sure that you cover your pipes down below with like a little plastic bag and a rubber band, or else all this stuff is going to fall into your pipes and then you're going to have problems later like I did. I'll tell you about it after we're done here. So now we're going to get both of our holes drilled and we are going to be good to go to start installing the sink. So there are our new holes. And they line up beautifully. That looks great. Now with this sink, the label actually goes out, the brand name, which is a little odd, but then you have your cold over here and your hot over here, which is the way it's supposed to be. These open in. If you wanted to, and I could always do this later, I could turn the entire sink around so that the label's in front. These would open out, which would give you a little more room in the sink here. I don't think that's such a bad thing. You could just knock it open if you had chicken on your hands or something. You can knock that open, wash your hands, and then pull it closed. And you can actually pop these tops out and interchange them so that the cold was over here and the hot was over here, and that would be accurate. So that's completely up to you. I think I might just do it this way because I like having the label over here. I kind of like that, turning on that way, but I think a lot of people aren't going to get it though. They're going to try and move it this way, like a normal sink should be set up. So, second thought, I think I will just leave it with the label on the other side. And we'll leave it like it's supposed to be so that when other people use the sink, they'll know to turn those in and not out. And we won't have people putting undue wear on our caps. But that is an option for you. I just wanted to let you know you have to pull these out very carefully with a small screwdriver or you will scratch them. but then they just pop right back into place. So now we have our sink and our gasket down. We don't have to worry about exactly how it's positioned right now because we do have a little bit of wiggle room. See that? That's why we went with the 1 inch. So let's get back underneath the cabinet and see if we can't reattach everything. So putting these back on is exactly the same. You just put on the tightening nut with the finger pegs down so you can tighten them up. And then you're going to put on your hoses. Now this sink does come with replacement hose ends with new rubber gaskets, but these were still they were just fine. They were in good shape, so I just reused them. And then you put on your tightening nut and you're going to be good to go for both sides. Now that we have our hoses attached underneath, we can go and place this guy inside here. It's got rubber little gaskets there, and then this lock ring is going to go on top. This is going to fit over it, and it's going to tighten down like so. Now we're just going to turn on the water and make sure we don't have any leaks underneath the sink. So now that we can let all the air out of the line, get water to the sink itself, now we can go underneath the cabinet and check for any leaks. So we have checked for leaks and we are good to go. See, it swivels really nicely there. We have a beautiful, nice stream of water that doesn't take nearly as much water to get the job done. It has a nice low flow attachment right here. And so we are in really good shape. Both sides work well. And that is much better because we have so much more ground clearance here. So that's really going to help us out. Okay, so there you have it. Now I mentioned in the video that you have to cover those pipes with like a plastic bag and a rubber band. Make sure you do that because I forgot to, and it was kind of a big snafu because the sawdust fell into the pipe and around the gasket. So when I went to put them all up, the left one was okay, but the right one had a drip, had a leak in it because there was sawdust on the rubber gasket. And also the sawdust that was in the pipe shot up through the sink and clogged the aerator with the screen. So I had to disassemble that, clean that out, and then take the water pipe off again and spritz it out with a squirter bottle, and then that got all the sawdust out of it, and I reattached it and everything is fine. But save yourself that 20-minute mistake and make sure you cover those pipes with a plastic bag and a rubber band and you will be just fine. Not a bad project. I'm really, really happy with the way it turned out. If this video helped you out, please like, share, subscribe. I will put a link in the bottom that goes to the sink that I picked up from Amazon if you want to pick up something similar. It'll take you right to like the RV sink kind of section with this guy. Or you can just use the link to buy anything you want on Amazon because I am an affiliate and it's an easy way to support the channel. So that about wraps it up. My name is Jim with Full Moon Adventure Club, and until the next video, thank you so much for watching and happy camping.